Welcome to Renegade Breakthroughs, the show where we cut through the noise, show you the clear path forward, and help passionate entrepreneurs break through invisible barriers so they can achieve more, earn more, and make a much bigger impact. Robert Imbriale is a best-selling author of motivational marketing, and for nearly 30 years, he has helped thousands of business owners finally see what's really been running their results from behind the scenes. If you're ready for real transformation and lasting success, you're in the right place. Let's go!
I love that. Let's go. Hey, welcome in. Robert Imbriale with you here today. Thank you for joining us as usual. Always fun to be hanging out with you guys on a Thursday. For those of you who listen to the podcast later, wherever you are, welcome in. Good to have you on board as well. Been an interesting week, actually. I'll tell you a few things. I was talking with my buddy Bruce yesterday, trying to get a kind of an update on what he's been up to and what he's doing. He's got a lot of big plans. So I think he's going to be making some waves come the fall. And I was also talking to Lewis a little bit, seeing what he's up to. And this was it yesterday? Was it this morning? No, it was yesterday. I spoke to my buddy Mitch Axelrod. He'll be joining us next week on the show. It'll be fun to have a conversation with him. He always brings a lot of interesting perspectives to things that are going on. It's going to be a lot of fun to see that. I got to see, what topics we're going to cover, because I think with him, we're going to have a lot of fun with a lot of different topics. All right, I just want to let you guys know real quickly, if you're not having success on Rumble, because I did get more emails of that. We're also on YouTube at Official Renegade Media, or Rumble Renegade Media, and on X at Renegade Media TV. Now, it didn't fire on X for the past 2 weeks, and there's a reason for that. Because they changed their whole studio. There's a portion of the site called Studio, and that's where you set up your live stream. And I was still using the legacy, and I never got notification that they stopped using that. And now they have a new one. So, all right, I got the new one this week. So hopefully it is streaming there. I don't have it up in front of me. I don't want too many things open on this computer to keep the stream good and solid and streaming well. So I'll have to check. Speaking of X, hey, did you guys get an invitation for X money? Interesting. They send you an invitation and they give you $25 in your account and they send you a card. So I got this debit card. It's metal. It's really heavy. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, they give you a free $25. They put it into your account to get you to start use X.com. Interesting story. Back when I first moved to San Diego, right after the Y2K, there was a company called X.com, and it was a bank. And I had an X.com account. And that was later bought by PayPal. And that's how I got a PayPal account. I didn't actually have one. I had an X.com account. I like them better than PayPal. But when they folded into PayPal, then I have a PayPal account. And now here we are, full circle, 26 years later, with an X.com account again, a bank account. I don't know if you could, I don't think you can sell anything online yet and collect payment that way, but there's certainly a debit card. There is a bank account associated with it, and you can put your money there. And it's kind of funny to think, like, the more things change, sometimes the more things stay the same. 26 years later, we're back with X.com again. Interesting. I've been looking, I've been looking at what's been going on. I've been always keep my finger on the pulse, because people ask me about that and they say, what's going on out there? What's happening? And there's been a lot of people who were telling me, I actually was speaking to another business owner this week, and they were telling me the same thing. It's like, it's very slow, right? It's the middle of summer. I get it. A lot of things are not popping the way you'd expect them to. And the truth of the matter is, it's like, we know, summer is traditionally slow. This year more so than others, because we have other things going on, a little bit of a war going on in Iran over there. We're not quite sure what's going on there. Gas prices have spiked. And, I think a lot of people are sitting back and waiting for what I call the other shoe to drop, right? We're not quite sure what's going on. We're not quite sure, what to expect out of all of it. The chaos is real. and we're going to talk about that today. I think that is sort of the pressing topic. I think what I do is I talk to people, and I get a kind of an emotional feel for where they are, and a lot of people are feeling it. They're feeling the stress, and they're standing on the sidelines. Kind of the bad news. The good news is there seems to be a little bit of movement going on. There's a couple of things that have come my way as far as projects and new work to do, that I didn't expect. And it just kind of gives me the feeling that people are like, well, they're kind of planning for the fall session, because that little space between September and the end of the year tends to be the busiest part of the year. And the most sales are made, and the most money changes hands, and people are buying for the holidays and yada yada. So it seems like people are like, all right, well, it's been really slow. Let's try to make up for it, and let's get back into the game here, because September's right around the corner. 25 days till Labor Day. I mean, think about that. It's like, wow, that's fast. How did we get here so quickly? Wasn't it just May? Wasn't I just celebrating my birthday not too long ago? Kind of crazy. All right. Before we jump in too deeply, I have a question for you. And it's an important question because, like I said, people are starting to turn the corner and look at what's coming up. And one of the things I will ask you is, do you ever think about where you'd like to be, say, 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, or maybe even 5 years from now? What do you want your life to look like? Where do you want to be financially? Where do you want to be health-wise? Where do you want to be in relationships and all the things that are important to us, right? And what I find is most people don't plan too far ahead. And I get it. Right now with the uncertainty that's out there, I get it. It's hard to plan ahead. But what if you did? And those plans change? So what? Right? It may be a good idea. I know people on New Year's Eve will set goals, which on New Year's Day they've promptly forgotten, right? And they never follow through on them. Kind of a useless exercise, if you will. And a lot of people will do that. And, in America, we don't set goals very far in advance. We think maybe a week, maybe a month ahead. Sometimes, man, if we're lucky, they'll think 6 months out. But it's not in our culture to think about what we can do in a year, 3 years, 5 years. The Chinese are very different. They will think of what they can do in 100 years, right? Where do they want the country to look like 100 years from now? So they just have a very different perspective on things. That's why they're not in as much as a rush as we are here in America. We're always sort of on the treadmill, go, 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 right? And there's all this pressure. We're dealing with some people in the UK right now on a project, and it's like you ask them a question, it could take 3 days to hear back from them, and it's like, what in the world? Well, it's just they have a different perspective of time, right? We would be, got to answer that question, got to reply to that email right away, right as fast as possible. And they're like, maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, we'll see how I feel. You know what I mean? It's just a very different experience working with people outside of the country for that reason. So really interesting to look at it that way. But, we started asking those questions this week. We hadn't been doing it in a while because, since 2020, we've been sort of on that treadmill. It's like, what's going to happen next? What's coming? What do we got to worry about? And sort of being in a protective mode and not really thinking that far ahead. And we started to this week. So, okay, what do we want to do? What it would look like 5 years from now? What would it look like a year from now? What are the kind of things we'd like to do? A little bit of daydreaming, a little bit of planning, right? And one of the things that we were cognizant of is we never brought the money issue up, because the money issue scares you into what? When you don't have the money, how am I going to get the money? Where am I going to find the money? We'll never have money for that. It keeps you small. So take that out of the equation. If money wasn't an issue, what would you like to do? What would your life look like? Where would you like to be living? What would you like to do with your house? Maybe you want to upgrade your house. Maybe you want to take a trip, right? And just allow yourself to have that freedom to think. A lot of people won't do that, but it is a powerful exercise. Really powerful exercise. It makes you feel good, right? If nothing else, it makes you feel, oh, wow, we can do this. This will be so cool. We could do this. And then you start building that momentum. And even if you say, I'm going to do this massive project, and you do 5% of it, it's much better than not having thought about it, not having planned, and not having taken those steps forward. So We're kind of doing that. This is really what we call the basis of manifesting, right? Manifesting is about deciding what it is you want, and I think everyone just fails right there. They never think about what they want. Oh, in the moment, yeah, I'd like a few more dollars in the bank because I'd like to get some bills paid. Okay, beyond that, what would you like to do? Take the money out of the equation. What would you be doing? What would it look like? Would you refurbish a house? Would you sell the house? Would you buy a new house? Would you move to a different part of the country? Right? So allowing yourself the freedom to do that makes a big difference. It makes a really, really big difference. Make you feel better, raises your vibration up, and puts you in that space of thinking about possibility. Now, not everyone thinks that way. I'm an entrepreneur. I think that way all the time, but not everybody does. A lot of people, don't think that in that way. So when you're putting these ideas together, you're having these thoughts, you're having these visions, you're visualizing what could happen, the universe conspires to make it happen for you. It brings things to you that wouldn't come to you otherwise. And I think there's a big part of it that we actually program our minds to see the things that are probably already there, and we just don't know they're there. But all of a sudden, when we have a vision of something we want to create, all of a sudden, oh, that piece is there. Oh, that piece is there too. Oh, look, I can go get that piece. And all of a sudden, it just appears to you, right? And it makes it clearer for you to be able to take those steps and move forward. So I'm going to tell you, I get it. A lot of people are on the sidelines. Maybe being on the sidelines, not jumping in right away, may actually be a good thing, because it maybe gives you the time, the freedom, and the ability to be thinking bigger. Open your mind up. Start to visualize. What is it you want to create? What is it that would feel really good for you if you had it, right? A relationship, or maybe a trip, or whatever it is that makes you feel good. You know what? It's quiet right now. Dog days of summer. Maybe a great time to think about those kinds of things. Anyway, we've been doing that. Hot days, quiet days, and honestly, from my perspective, probably is no better time of year to do that than right now. And I know, people in Australia, I know it's not summer for you guys, but you're coming up on it. It's going to turn the corner. It's going to get warmer for you. I know. Anyway, so my question, I'll leave you with this, is what do you want to create for yourself next? What is next for you? What is the next thing you want to create? Think about it. Maybe a lot of opportunity coming up. I have a very strong feeling that we've got some rough times ahead. I've really felt that. I really strongly believe that. But on the other side of it, we're going to be able to create a lot of cool things. We get a lot of the junk out of society. Things are going to move a lot smoother for us. So, stay tuned. I think it's going to get a lot better for us here. All right, let me talk about AI prompting for a little bit. It's an interesting topic because most people are. I was talking to a friend a couple of days ago, and I asked him. I said, "Do you use AI?" And he said, "No, not at all. I don't get very much out of it." And I said, "Well, when you go into the chat box, what do you put in?" He goes, "I don't even know what to put in." I ask a simple question. I get a quick answer. And it's really not really that different for him than a search engine. I said, well, have you learned anything about doing prompting? What's that? Well, the prompt is the question you're asking, but you can go a lot deeper. You can add all kinds of details to it, and you can get a more specific answer. So he said, no, I hadn't thought about that. I don't know anything about that. What can you tell me? And I said, well, it's a little bit like when you're driving and you have your GPS, right? So what does your GPS do? It gives you the best route, but only when you're clear on the destination. It has to know your starting point. You have to be clear on where you want to go, and if you have any preferences along the way. This is the piece a lot of people miss. What are the preferences? What are the things you want it to cover, things you don't want it to cover? So, for instance, with your GPS example, you might say, let's avoid toll roads. Let's avoid highways. Let's avoid back roads, whatever it would be. And for me, it would be like, avoid dirt roads, right? That kind of thing. And when you tell it the exact context, it gives you an answer that's viable. And I think that's really the key to being able to use AI effectively. I've got a free download for you, renegade.club/110. There's 100 plus ready to use AI prompts in there. And one of the cool things about this little ebook, it's free. Just put your first name and your email in, and I'll email it to you right away. One of the coolest things here is that you get to see how prompts are structured, right? And there's a learning just in reading through the prompts. You don't even have to use any of them. Of course, I use a bunch of them. I've used a couple this morning. I went through and found things I needed, and it was in there. It was like, great starting point. Put it in there, modify it a little bit, and I get really good results out of AI that other people aren't getting. So go have a look, renegade.club/110, and download that AI prompting for you. Okay. Crazy times continue. We're not there yet. Did you read that the new jobs creation number that the Fed released was minus 23,000? We lost 23,000 jobs. That came out, I think, on Friday. And you might say, wait a minute, I thought the economy was getting better. I thought, well, that gives you an interesting number. It gives you a feel for we're not as strong as we thought we were going to be. I have a sort of a hypothesis on why the number dropped, and it's not what everyone has been saying, but if you remember during the Biden years, a lot of the jobs that were created were going to illegals. Very few were going to American citizens, and I think this may just be part of the correction of that, where now the jobs are going to go to the Americans, and the companies are a little bit sluggish because they have to pay them more, right? An illegal you can get for a lot cheaper. They're not registered. They don't have to pay taxes. You can pay them under the table. You can get them for a lot cheaper. So I think it's just part of the correction. I'm not that concerned about it. But the challenge that it creates is where I'm going to spend time today, because we're all impacted by this. You may not think that, I don't care. I got a job, or I'm retired, or I work for myself. It's not a big deal. That number reverberates throughout the entire economy, right? Because people look at that as they do the stock market price at the end of the day. And people look at that and they say, are we living in a strong economy? Are we living in an economy that's failing? Is it, what is it? Where are we? And what it does, it impacts everything. It impacts everything we're doing. It impacts the businesses we do business with. It impacts prices. If the economy starts to sag and get a little too weak, what happens is we get inflation, right? Companies will start raising their prices, and it gets harder for everyone. So it's sort of a signal, and it can be disheartening. And I'm going to go into a little bit of the thinking around it, because I think it's real important that we all kind of step back a little bit. The title of this episode is, make sure you can stay flexible and bend, but you also have to stay strong at the same time, because these kind of things are going to come out and they're going to knock us for a loop. And one of the challenges that we're going to run into is there another shoe that's about to drop? Hard place to be, right? Always wondering, looking over your shoulder, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? We've been there since 2020. All of us have. And you may not have known it, but we're all changed. We're all different now because of it. You may not know the change may be subtle. And if you went back and started to think about what your life was like in 2019, what your attitude was like, you'll see how much has changed. It's dramatic for some people, right? Some people, I don't recognize them anymore because their personality has shifted so much because of this pressure, this stress, this unknown stress. Stress is easier to handle if you know what it is, you know where it's coming from, right? And you can kind of figure a way out of it. Harder when you don't know if it's going to come, when it's going to come, where it's going to come from. Now it's just a background stress and you're not sure. Keeps you off balance, right? COVID, I think, was like the perfect thing to scare people. Couldn't smell it, couldn't see it, couldn't feel it, unless you got sick, right? You didn't know. Oh, remember they were telling you, you could be contagious. Even though you have no symptoms, you could be sick. It's like the ultimate thing, right? Is like you can't see it, you can't feel it, you don't know it's there, it's invisible, and it's something you got to be scared of. So they injected a ton of fear into society, and that's not gone yet. That's not gone. That's a long way from being gone. So when you look at your life and you say, well, how did I change because of that? What decisions did I make or didn't I make because that was what was going on, or that is what's going on because it continues to this day? So we're going to delve into that a little bit because I think it's important for us to, get back, get centered, get grounded again, and get into a position where, we can take things to the next level. It's going to get challenging, and when it gets more challenging, there are people who are going to flame out. They're not going to be able to handle it. I was having this conversation with Bruce the other day, and it's like, one of the things that we have that is a gift is that we've been through it, we understand it, and we're going to come out the other side first before anybody else. We'll be the first group to get to the other side. There are a lot of people who haven't been paying attention, are not there, not aware, right? And they're going to be taken by surprise by everything that's going on. And they're going to be wondering, how in the world did we get through it? We're already here. What do you think we're going to be able to do? We're going to be able to help walk those people through. Not, I told you so, you should have woken up. We're not going to play that game, but we'll help them through the fire. So they get to the other side and they recognize, the games that were played and the lies that were told. And when we get to the other side, it's going to be easier for us to pull them up. Give them a hand up instead of a hand out, as they say, right? It's real important. So the week's economic news was mixed. And mixed news is challenging because, like I said, you don't know, what the signals are. They're harder on your nervous system, in fact, than bad news. Bad news, you can compartmentalize the bad news. You could figure out how you're going to deal with the bad news. But when the signals are, well, we got some good news and we got some bad news, then your body goes, ooh, which one is it? You could choose. You could say, I'm only going to focus on the good news. Tune out the bad stuff. That's one way of dealing with it. But I think, because it is a thing that happens in society at large, it's harder to do. So I think what ends up happening is we're confused. And when we're confused, we always say no, which means we're not going to take the step forward. And I think that's where a lot of people are right now. Good news, bad news. It's confusing. What do we do? And the challenge there is that you're going to get stuck, and I don't want you to get stuck. I want to keep moving forward. We only can grow through all of this if we stand in the face of it rather than cower from it. I remember in 2008, right? What happened in 2008? Well, we had a recession, pretty bad one. And then Obamacare came in. And that was a direct affront on small business. It was a huge tax on small businesses. The economy crashed because of it. It was so bad. The real estate market dropped, right? The bottom fell out of the real estate market. And my reaction to it wasn't the right reaction. My reaction was, I'm going to sit on the sidelines and I'm going to wait for this to change. It took years for that to happen. Didn't really start to happen until 2012, 2013, when things started to, turn the corner slowly, right? But I lost all those years waiting. And I think there are a lot of people who are going to do that now. And I would suggest don't do that. Get in the game, but be aware that things can shift, right? We're walking on quicksand in some respects. And we just got to be aware that, as you're taking those steps forward, things can change. Laws can change. In fact, there was one today that came out that, you buy small products from overseas, China or whatever, and if they're under $800, they would be delivered to you without tariffs, without duty fees. Well, now that's changed. Now they're going to be duty and tariffs on all of that stuff. So it changes the dynamic, especially if you're a company that buys stuff from China to resell it in America. Changes it, right? So be aware the changes are coming. They're always going to be coming. And, the goal here is to remain as strong as possible. All right. So I can't tell you what the Fed's going to do. I can't tell you what the economy is going to do. I can't tell you what gas is going to do, gas prices are going to do. People are saying, oh, they're going to drop right now. I don't know. They're over $6 a gallon again here. We got down to like $5.50 somewhere there. And I was out and about yesterday, and it was like $6.25, $6.35, $6.50. Gas went back up. Apparently, oil is flowing in the Middle East. Why is gas going up? Doesn't make sense. So I can't predict it because the normal markers that you would see in a normal economy when there wasn't this much interference are not working. So it's a challenge. I'm not going to predict it. You shouldn't be predicting it either. You should just be prepared either way. What does that mean? Well, maybe you set some money aside. Don't spend it all this month, right? A lot of people will do that. They get their paycheck and spend it all. I got $5 in my bank account, but it's okay. There's another paycheck coming. Maybe don't do that. Maybe keep a little bit more. Drag out on some of the bills. Don't pay them all right away. You don't have to pay them the moment they come in. You can wait a little bit and keep some of that money back. That kind of thing. That's a tool that you can use. So the challenge, I think, for a lot of people is when there's this unknown. That stress continues and it continues to grow, and especially now it's going higher because we don't know the outcome of the war. We hear one minute there's an agreement, the next minute we're bombing them again, or they're bombing us and then we're bombing them, and then it's off. So you always take it with a grain of salt. You go, I don't really know what's going to happen. Gas prices were going down. Now gas prices are going up. Food prices, they're still up. I don't know, maybe in your area they're down a little bit. They're not here. They haven't changed. They're still high. And people are shocked. They go to the fast food restaurants now, and I see them posting this all the time. They cannot believe how expensive fast food has become. Remember, that used to be the cheapest thing you could get? Now people were like, I can't believe I spent $30 on a hamburger. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I know. It's not a gourmet hamburger either. It's just junk, right? It's on the low end of the thing. So we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if those prices will come down. We don't know, if gas prices will ultimately drop to where they should be, which is what, $1.50, $2 a gallon, somewhere in that range. That would be normal, right? That would be acceptable. We don't know. Will it ever get back there? I don't know. But I can tell you one thing. Uncertainty is a challenge. It's a real problem. I'm going to walk you through some strategies today that'll help with that. It'll help you be a little bit stronger, because I got to tell you, ambiguity is a challenge. When you're unsure, it just creates the illusion of uncertainty for you. So some people will say, well, you know what? I'm just going to focus and I'm going to pretend everything's good. Okay. You probably feel good in the moment. You might feel good for a little while, but you could also be taken by surprise by not being aware. So I always encourage people, it's like you get on the news feeds in the morning really quickly, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, look at what's going on, try to get a feel for the day, and then leave it alone. It's easy to get addicted to it, right? It's very soap opera-ish. It's very addicting in a way. And you could be, reading the feeds all day long, and you're getting good news, bad news, and you walk away confused. So you want to try and avoid that. So just look at it. Is there anything? And here's my question: is there anything in the news today that's going to directly impact me in the immediate term? What do you think 90% of the time is? No, there's nothing. Stuff that's interesting, but it's not going to impact my life. If it's not going to impact me today or in the immediate future, then I'm going on with my day. I'm going to get back into doing the work that I want to do. It's challenge. So one thing you can do that'll help a lot is when you're feeling the confusion, put a label on it. Make it something tangible for you so it's not so ambiguous. It's not so out there. So I would say we're in a rough economy right now, as an example, right? So I'm not trying to say it could be good, it could be bad. I'm going to just say it's rough because I see a lot of bad news. I also see the good news. I see some good numbers. I see some bad numbers. But I'm going to put a label on it because it allows me to deal with it better than if you don't have a label on it. It's good. Could it be good? It could be good. It could be bad. It could be anything. And you don't want that. You want what you want. So it's easier if you put a label on it. I know we talk about don't put labels on, but in this case, this is something that'll help you. Also, find ways to calm yourself down. If you're feeling anxiety around any of this, find ways to calm yourself down. So I'm not going to say watch the news because it does not calm people down and it riles them up, if anything. But find things that calm yourself down. So go for a walk, right? Put on your favorite music. That music is still good. It's just be careful of lyrics that you're listening to. But yeah, music is still helpful. Put you in a good mood. Or I would suggest call a friend. I've always done that. This is my go-to for years and years and years. When I'm stressed or whatever, I'll just call a friend. Won't even talk about what's stressing me. Just talk about anything but that. And to have a good conversation, have a few laughs, get off the phone, you feel better, and now you can go in and deal with whatever challenge you're having, but you deal with it from a new perspective, right? Hanging out with a friend's a very good idea. Go for coffee, go for a walk, that kind of thing is real important. A lot of the mistakes we make is that we spend too much time alone, right? We've got in this society so many ways to communicate with one another, yet we are a very lonely society because the one thing we've given up is face to face. And of course, COVID didn't help. Put the mask on. I can't see your face. I can't see your facial expressions. Stand 6 feet away. Don't go visit grandma. Right? It was all that nonsense that was coming up. It just made it worse. And I think what happened is society has not recovered yet. You don't see people talking to each other in the stores. It's really interesting. It's like they walk through the stores, and I had this experience yesterday before I was in the store, and this experience was in Costco. People drive their carts like they drive their cars. They think you can't see them, and they'll just cut you off. They'll bump into you. I mean, like, what in the world? I was like, I got to get out of here. This is crazy. Like 3 or 4 times, people just right in front of me, like I didn't even exist. I'm like, am I invisible? What's going on here? But what happened, I think, through the COVID years is we've become disconnected, where we cared about each other more. We're not doing that now. And I think what's happened is we've got to relearn how to do that. So you could be the one to start the process. I'm the one to start the process, right? I talk to everybody. I always give people smiles. I always, engage in conversation when I'm checking out. And people are like, how come you know so much about that cashier? Well, the question I would have is, why don't you, right? Why don't you have the conversation? They're humans too. Oh, they're just a cashier, so it's still a human being, right? I don't judge them based on what position they hold. I was a cashier one time too. That's where I started. Can't judge me for that. It's not what I am today. And they won't be that 5 years from now either. They're not going to stay stuck there. Some do. Well, granted, I know there's some that get stuck there forever, but the reality is most of them move on. They go do something else. So don't judge them by the position they're at currently, because I always see people with more potential. So we got to start opening up the lines of communication again. We got to start talking to each other. We got to start having those group meetings, right? And those get-togethers that we used to have. God, I can't remember the last time somebody invited me over for dinner, or we invite anybody over for dinner. It's just, we don't do that anymore. You remember in the old days, you did all the time, hey, I'm going over to my friend's house for dinner. It's like, yeah, it was like a normal thing. Not in this society. It doesn't happen anymore. Maybe we need to get back to that. Maybe we need to re-educate ourselves on how really to interact with one another. It's about time. It's really about time. Because if we're all going through this together, but we're apart, I'm stressed, you're stressed, I'm not talking to you, you're not talking to me, but if we came together, we may find solution. Or we may be able to help each other not be stressed. Having a few laughs, having a burger, having a beer, whatever it is. We may be able to soften it a little bit and feel better. But we don't talk. We don't talk. So we got to break that wall down. It's not going to be easy to retrain society, but I think the reality that I find is most people want to. They just don't know how to. And they don't know because of our political disagreements. If they talk to somebody who doesn't believe, what we believe, is it going to result in an argument? So what do? Shut up. Won't talk about anything. I don't have to talk politics with everybody. I don't. I could talk about the weather. I could talk about whatever, right? Doesn't matter. And just open up the lines of communication again. We've got to start getting back to that. Because society's been damaged, heavily damaged. We're feeling it, even though you say, well, it doesn't impact me. Well, of course, you go to an event and everyone thinks the same way. We're in the echo chamber, feels great, but it's not the rest of the world. That's not how the world is. Our world is dramatically different now. 7 years ago, we were better. We weren't great. We could have done a lot better, but we're a lot worse off now in that respect than we were. So you, me, all of us, we have a role to play. And you ask, what's that role? The role is we've got to repair society. And it may not be you go and talk to thousands of people, but talk to one. Talk to your neighbor. Talk to the cashier at the grocery store. Talk to the, whoever, the mechanic that comes and fixes your car, whatever. You can have these conversations. They enjoy it because they too are scared. They don't know. Are you going to yell at them because they make a comment that you might say, oh, you're woke? You know what I mean? Or, oh, you're a Trump supporter. We got to get over that. That's just nonsense at this point. Now, we realize that the corruption in government is on both sides. Does it really matter which side of the aisle you're on? One is just as bad as the other. Yeah, we have a handful of people that are doing the right thing, but the vast majority, not so much. So let that alone for now. Have conversations that don't talk about that don't preach that, and you can start to rebuild your confidence speaking to other people, because I think that's really, that's what's important for us, is to be able to do that. All right. Let's talk about, conversations you can have. Come back around and talk about the things that are true today. Now, we know right now we're in a situation where there is a lot of information coming out, right? A lot of disclosure. People are a little bit shocked. They're a little bit surprised. They're a little bit, what? I don't get it. There's a lot of disclosure coming out. That is the path to bringing us back together. Doesn't appear like it is right now, but I really believe that it's going to get there. Because there will come a time when we hit that critical mass of information that comes out that the people on the other side just can't keep denying it like they've been denying it, because it'll be overwhelming. And they won't have a choice but now to turn and look at it. And all of a sudden, it's going to be we the people against our corrupted leaders. It's not that way yet, but I got to tell you something. I'm seeing it more and more every single day. For instance, you're seeing videos of doctors who recommended, and in some cases persuaded, sometimes under pressure, parents to get their kids vaccinated. Now that all this information's come out, they're on camera apologizing and in tears about what they did, because they know they damaged so many children. They didn't know it then because they were being told it was safe and effective. It's fine. Do it. And, here's your incentive. We'll be giving you extra money for every one you do. And now they realize they were played. Hard place to be in. I don't envy them at all. I feel for them. Maybe they should have been smarter. Maybe we could go back and look at it that way. But, what's happened. So I feel we're going to be starting to come back together. Remember after 9/11? Do you remember the week after 9/11? The president had a 92% approval rating. Where in the world do you have 92% of a country behind the president of any country? Well, unless if you're Saddam Hussein, he had 100%, but other than that, it doesn't happen. What was evident there was everyone was coming together. We had an event. It was really bad. Scared everybody. Didn't know what was coming next. We all huddled around and got together. I thought, this is the way the country should be. We should all be on the same side. We should all be fighting the bad guys, the evil guys together. And over the past, is going to be the 25th anniversary this September, over 25 years, we've become very separated in many ways. So, all this disclosure that's coming out is another version of 9/11 in a lot of ways. And that's why I can see on the other side of this, people will start coming back together. But we don't have to wait. You can start doing that now. And in fact, I encourage it, because I think that is the path forward for us. If you ask, what's the path forward? How do I know things are going to be good? Because you're going to make it so. You're not going to wait for someone else to do it. They're never going to do it. You, me, we have to get together. We have to do it. Just to give you an idea, some things you can do. It's kind of fun. Truth is, the next 90 days are going to be, I really see them as being eye-opening, if anything. They may be a little scary. We don't know exactly how it'll play out. Remember, it's war, information war. We don't know what the result's going to be. We got to look at the positive side. We got to look at it and say we're going to win. We're going to get to the other side. We're going to clean up the bad stuff, clean up the corruption. That would be helpful, right? I don't have a crystal ball in terms of being able to tell you what it's going to look like, but I will tell you that if you're not alone, if you're connecting with other people, it's going to be a lot easier. If you're having conversations that are productive and not trying to indoctrinate, because that's where we get into trouble. I would love everyone to believe what I believe. No, I really wouldn't. I learn things from people who don't believe what I believe. Honestly, it's a lot of fun to go in that direction sometimes. All right, let me take a quick break and we'll get on with part 2 of our convo today. You guys remember Thumper, or some people call him Trumper. I really love that name too. He's passed away recently, but I got to tell you, he lasted at least 3 years, maybe even 3.5 years longer than we expected him to live because of the pet club food that we were giving him, the super sauce specifically. Conventional pet food is, packed with chemicals, dyes, fillers, that sort of thing. Not helpful. Pet Club 24/7, on the other hand, started by people who were tired of watching their pets suffer. They get to a certain age and they're all sick and they've got cancers and all that. This is not normal. This is absolutely not normal. So they were sick of it. They wanted to find a conventional way. They actually started out with the mushroom supplements for people. That's where they began. Because it was helping so many people, it was curing so many people's chronic disease, chronic illnesses. By the way, they still sell those supplements. You can still get the mushroom supplements from them. And then they said, well, if it works so well for humans, would it work for animals? And they started to try it on the animals and realized, yeah, it does. And then they started to blend it into dog food, cat food, horse food, right? So the animals were getting the massive immune boost and clearing out a lot of the things that were causing them to get sick. No harsh chemicals, no unnecessary junk, just better for dogs, cats, horses, and other animals, and also humans, because they have a human section on there as well. Just go to, I'll give you the web address here, renegademedia.tv/pets, renegademedia.tv/pets, and find out more about what they've got going on. Really cool stuff. They also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you bought it and your cat doesn't love it, your dog doesn't eat it, just give them a call and send it back, and they'll give you a full refund. I don't even think they care about whether or not you send it back. They'll just give you a refund. Yeah, I think that's what I've heard. I haven't done it. I've never had to send it back, nor do I know anybody who sent it back because they see the results usually within about a week or so. Kind of interesting how fast it works. All right. Yeah, just looking at here. Looking at the chat room. You guys are always fun to have in the chat room. It's always fun to see what's going on. There's some more shakeups going on out there. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but in the AI community, another thing that's, causing business owners to shake in their boots a little bit. It's like, why would there be shakeups in the AI community? Isn't that the strongest industry right now? Isn't that where all the energy's going, all the money's going? Kind of is. But why are there shakeups in it? What's going on? And that's sending more ripples to our economy. And a lot of business owners are seeing that and they're going, okay, what should we know? Well, I will tell you something about AI that is really intriguing or fascinating. The iteration speed in AI is unlike anything I've ever seen before. So, for instance, I was talking to Mitch yesterday, and he said, well, can you do this with AI? It's like, last week you couldn't, this week you can. Literally that fast, right? I was like telling you the Claude app, I opened it in the morning, it had an update. So I ran the update. Come back after lunch, another update. How often do you normally see apps update? Maybe once a month, if they're really busy, twice a month maybe, or once every 3 months, 6 months, but twice in a day? It's not the first time that's happened. So they are literally at this point using AI to improve AI. I know it's a little bit of a mind bend, right? They're using AI to program the AI system. So it's not programmers like in the old days, people were coding by hand, not doing that anymore. Now they're using AI to review the code and enhance it, and it's just going so fast. So shakeups like that in the AI industry, Google reorganized its AI leadership, and the CEO of its AI division stepped back from day-to-day operations. Anthropic, the people behind Claude, hired a former judge to help navigate what's coming. Okay, let's go into a couple of things here. You're starting to see on social media when somebody creates an image with AI, it's now marked. On X it is. It's not yet on Facebook, but it's coming apparently. It's on LinkedIn. If you put an AI image on LinkedIn, it'll say created with AI. If you put it on X, created with AI, and created with Grok, they'll know it's created with Grok. And you say, well, how in the world are they doing that? Anthropic, the people behind Claude, are going to go so far as to make the text that it creates trackable, so that you would know that if a web page you're reading was created with AI. And you say, come on, it's just text. How can they possibly do that? They're embedding within the text invisible characters. What? Yeah, they're embedding invisible characters. The only way around it is if you took the text and retyped it in to a different document, then it wouldn't have the invisible characters in it. But they're putting the invisible characters in there. It's code, right? So the AI can go read it and know, bang, this was created with AI. This was written by AI. So what they're preparing is they're seeing what's going on in the EU. They're seeing how much more overreach the government's having. And what Anthropic and others are doing now is they're trying to protect themselves. Ultimately, I don't believe it'll work. Ultimately, I don't believe it'll be fairly easy to go into AI and say, hey, I want you to, clean this up and remove all invisible characters, that kind of thing. You'll be able to do it. There will be other people that will create software that will do that automatically. You want to use AI text, just run it through here. They'll clean it all up. Any invisible characters are removed. Then you can post it on your website. So there are going to be a lot of workarounds to it. So I don't think it's going to be, but they're trying. They're trying to protect themselves. So the shakeup is because it's going so fast that people are getting what? Freaked out. Literally. Governments are scared because they could see what it can create. They could look at the videos you're finding, how real they look. We're only probably months away before somebody comes out and with a full feature-length movie, 100% created with AI. Not a single live human actor in there. We're getting very close to it. Right now it does minutes at a time, but if you think about a movie, isn't the movie just different scenes, just minutes at a time? Put it all together in the correct order and in the correct story, you could have a whole feature-length movie before long. So there's a lot of fear around what's coming. There's a lot of fear around us no longer being able to tell what's real, right? And that's a challenge a lot of us are running into. It's like I have posted stuff I thought was real, was so well done, and then later found out it was AI and went and removed it. I didn't know. You can get fooled. All of us are going to get fooled. So we go back to this concept. So we talked about rebuilding relationships. We talked about staying strong in the face of uncertainty. We talked about a lot of that. The one thing that's going to be important, the most important thing for us right now, is to work on our ability to discern fact from fiction. Now, we had a conversation the other day, and Phoebe and I were talking about this, and we're talking about, we have homeschooling, right? Why do we have homeschooling? Because people are waking up and realizing that the school system, the public school system, and many private schools as well, are not putting out a great product. They're really not producing a great product anymore. They're producing an indoctrinated student. People were laughing about this. They'd say, you know what? Spend $100,000, send your daughter or your son to college. They'll come back in 4 years hating you, right? And that's exactly what's been going on, is the indoctrination is so much. So what is the result of that? People are what? They're homeschooling, right? They're not putting their kids into that indoctrination system. They're keeping them at home, and they're teaching them what they can on their own. And those kids, by the way, generally speaking, are higher producing after they get out of quote unquote their high school studies than the ones who went to their regular high schools. They learned more. They could read, they could write, they could do math, the basic skills you need to get through life, they can do. So that's one reaction to the discernment when you're starting to see what's going on. Another area that we're seeing a lot of this is our food supply is very polluted. And you look around and you say, this one's sick, that one's got cancer, that one's got diabetes. Is it because their system is weak, or is it because they've been poisoned for years on end? There's good news on that front. I think RFK Jr. said the generally accepted as safe. They're going to remove that, and there are some 10,000, mind-boggling, 10,000 chemicals that are used in food production that are generally considered safe. No studies have ever been done. We think it's safe. Let's just add this in there. That's floor cleaner. What are you doing? It's like, and a lot of products today, Breyer's quote-unquote ice cream is no longer ice cream. It's now called frozen dessert because there's no cream in it. It's all chemicals. Generally accepted as safe, right? So that's going away. People are waking up to that, and what are they doing? What's the response to that? I go to the farmer's market every Saturday. I got to tell you, it is crowded. We're buying produce from local farmers, not GMO. We're buying eggs from the farmer who doesn't have vaccinated chickens, right? We know they're feeding them real food, not soy and not corn and not stuff that chickens were never meant to eat. We buy meat from a local farm as well. That industry is expanding and getting bigger and bigger. So what's next? Our discernment now is we're looking at the healthcare industry. We're looking at a hospital. I look at a hospital, by the way, and I've said this before, but it bears repeating. I don't look at a hospital as a place of healing. When I look at a hospital, what my eyes see is a factory. Everything there is on wheels. Everything's temporary. They roll you in, roll you out. The lights are always on. Isn't it true that if you're sick, you need quiet time, you need to be able to get some good sleep, right? All the things that you would expect in a healing environment are just not present in a hospital at all. Then you ask the question, it's like, why do you want that? Why would you want to step into that system? Here's what's happening. You guys haven't heard this yet. We have homeschooling. We have, buying local for our food, local farmers. And we're going to have home health care soon. Not bringing a nurse from modern medicine health care. We're going to have people who understand health care. And because they can't prescribe, what they'll say is something like, you know what? You might be helped if you use this or this or this, but I can't tell you to do it. You got to do it on your own. But here are the non-drug solutions. Here are the supplements you can get that can help you with this, and people will be doing more and more healing on their own. They're going to stay away from the modern medicine systems happening all over. I mean, we're seeing it more and more. Nobody's really talking about it yet, but it's shifting, right? You can't go to a hospital and get ivermectin. They won't give it to you. But you and I know that may be a powerful tool if you've got the COVID, right? That may be a powerful tool to help with cancer. Can't get that in the hospital. Cut, poison, and burn. We're going to surgery, we're going to radiate, or we're going to chemo you. That's what you get in the hospital. That's all they're allowed to do. They're not allowed to go outside of that. So when you decide that system no longer serves, then I need to look for something else. It's going to be home healing. And that's where it's going to go. And we're going to figure out that we have the ability to heal ourselves. Most of the sicknesses, the illnesses, start in the... Where did they start? Any clue? Anybody have a clue? Where's most illness start? It's your emotions, right? It's trauma, it's fear, it's things you're thinking about that you never cleared up. It's anger, it's the hatred, or fear, right? The stuff that gets locked in. That's what causes illness more than anything. So you clear that out. John Gray was talking about this, Dr. John Gray. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. He was talking about this in an event I was at with him a few years back. And he's saying he was curing people with stage 4 cancer without drugs, without chemotherapy, without surgery, by helping them clear up their early childhood trauma. He's helping them get in touch with it, release it, And typically, he said within 30 days, doing 30 minutes of meditation and working on that every day, within 30 days, most of them were in remission. The cancer was going away. Right? So when you realize that you have more power to heal than you can get in modern medicine, you no longer go there. And I think that's the transition, that's the shift we're making. So it's not going to be easy because those guys are going to fight back. They're going to fight back hard. You see it already. They don't want you to have a garden, a home garden, right? They want you to have a permit to have a home garden. If you have it in your front yard instead of having a lawn, the HOA comes around and says, no, you got to take it out. So they're fighting back. You can see Big Ag is already fighting back on that. They don't want you to be independent. It's the worst possible thing for them. You and I know better. We got to be independent. We got to figure it out. So the gift we all have is the ability to discern what's real, what's just hype. What are they selling us when the government forces you to do a healthcare procedure? It's not for your good. I can tell you that. It's not for your best. It's not in your highest interest. It's not for your health. If they cared about your health, alcohol would be banned, so would cigarettes. Things that cause the most damage in our society. Those things would be banned. But they're not. They're legal. Over 18, all the cigarettes you want. Over 21, drink all you want. Nobody cares. Not about your health. Never has been. But those things create patients. And patients are good for business if you're a hospital or you're in the healthcare industry. So think about it that way, right? So we have a lot of power. We have a lot of ability. We're going to discern. We're going to figure this out. We're going to do things that are going to benefit society and benefit us, and we're going to be a lot stronger. So we've got a road ahead of us that's a little bit challenging, but I'm really positive and thinking this way and feeling this way and looking at the things we can create. I think it's going to make a big difference. I think you, me, and we get out there and we start talking to people. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. That's going to change it for so many of us. That's going to make a big difference as we go forward into this new world. I guess we call it the new world, or the new society. Whatever label you want to put on it is changing, and it's changing because all of us are waking up more, and we're changing it. Speaking of waking up, there is the Awakening Summit coming up. I'm going to be talking about that. It's coming up in October, and I'll fill you in as we get a little bit closer to that. They started with the promotions this week, so I'm going to grab some of that stuff, and I'll figure out all the details so I can share them with you. And it'll be in Florida. I can't remember what town in Florida it's going to be in. I'll figure it out. I will get all that information to you on next show. For now, though, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for sharing the time with me today. I appreciate you hanging out. It's always fun to see you here. And like I said, the show seems to be growing every week. People are enjoying it. Next week, we will have Mitch Axelrod joining us. We'll have a very robust conversation on some different topics. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun to finally get guests in here. I've been threatening to do it for a while, and we're going to break the ice and get that going. I think it's really important not to have me talk for an hour. My gosh, that can get boring, can it? Anyway, love you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing, and we'll see you next week.